high hopes, and maybe they don't have a high school diploma, but you're hopeful that they do, and they don't show up on Monday. And then you look at the workforce in its totality, and you know, we've got a high school dropout rate of over 30%, I believe, and I keep hearing different numbers, but it's way too high. I think, and this is probably unusual for a business guy to say, but my business was up 25% last year. This year we're looking for the same kind of an increase, and we're having trouble finding people that want to work. And I would hope that Governor Fallin really addresses the problems we have with our school system. Somehow we need to do a better job of getting them through the school system, getting them into the VOTEC system, getting them into the college system, and they need to be ready to learn and then ultimately to go to work.
Mayor, Mike, what do you need from a city standpoint?
Well, we need a governor. The states that are really first class and we would like to benchmark, the governor of those states is their primary recruiter. And Mary Fallin was in Tulsa, you know, within hours after she was elected. I think she gets Tulsa. She gets Tulsa's entrepreneurial nature. And she's convinced me that she'll get on an airplane anywhere, anytime, and help recruit for our state. And, you know, I, along with my colleagues at the Tulsa Metro Chamber, we've got a lot of projects in the hopper. Most of them are out of state. We're at least, we may have a Tulsa element of the business, but we've got a headquarters out of state. And, you know, I'm really pleased, quite honestly, to have a governor look us in the eye and say, I'll go anywhere, anytime to help you bring business to Tulsa. And so I'm really pleased with that. That's help that we need. And it, you know, I cannot overemphasize the impact that taking a mayor or taking a governor or taking both of them on an airplane with you to go visit a client has. It shows a commitment that you know, that some of the competitor states we're competing against just really don't have. So that's what we need. That's what we've asked for, and I'm convinced, you know, that Governor Fallin will fill that need. You
ready to cash in your frequent flyer miles?
Oh, I'll be adding to them. Be adding to them. Just as a good example, John. A few days ago, a local company is thinking of adding to what they have. And the governor dropped everything. She came over and was very involved, and she visited with several people. She heard what the story was, and she said, okay, what can I do to help? Who do I call? Where do I go? And I mean, and she's dead serious. She understands what we as Tulsans need. She understands job creation, that whole thing, and having a kindred soul as the top executive officer of the state of Oklahoma, where that we can work with on a daily basis and at a drop of a hat basis, is extremely important. We're very, very fortunate to have her there. Tulsa and Oklahoma being right in the middle of the country and being in a position where we have not had to recover from the recession as badly as other states have, it gives us a huge opportunity that we could take advantage of other situations throughout the country where those states are just in very, very dire straits. And many times the companies in those states want to get out for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And here we are right in the middle of the country with a very pro-business city, a very pro-business state, governor's office, legislature, and now's our opportunity. I think we have a good window here for a few years. We need to take advantage of it, and certainly the governor's very, very able and willing to lead that parade.
All right. Let's start another round of questioning. We begin with Tulsa World's John Stankavage.
From Mr. Bunny and the mayor, you just briefly referred to brownfields at the beginning of the program, which are sites that need some environmental cleanup to be marketed. There was an announcement recently of a brownfield site that's going to be cleaned up in North Tulsa. There's a lot of interest in North Tulsa. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about what other incentives or initiatives are going on to spur development on that side, all the way from the Greenwood area back to the airport.
Let me take the brownfields portion of it first. Our brownfields program in Tulsa, when I arrived 3 years ago, was essentially dormant. And I felt like it was an opportunity that we were truly missing out on. And I went to the Tulsa Industrial Authority and asked them to kind of champion the brownfield activities for us, and they went out and hired an executive director, Clay Bird, who has taken the Industrial Authority to a place where we are actively applying for brownfield cleanup monies, grants, planning grants, and we are starting to be successful in obtaining those grants. We've been invited in April to present some of our activities at the National Brownfields Conference, and it really is a relationship business with the EPA, and Tulsa was completely off their radar screen. We just hadn't applied in so long that they really didn't know us. And so we're starting to see the fruits of those activities. The planning grant that we have is focused primarily on near north side Tulsa. And so we have identified over 60 potential brownfield sites just kind of in the area. If you'll picture the area directly north of Archer, just a couple miles to the north. And so we're in those planning activities. We'll be out in community meetings, making sure that the activities that we start to plan to undertake are sensitive to what the community wants. But basically every former gas station, a lot of the industrial facilities that were on the near north side all have potential to be redeveloped as brownfield locations. And so we're active, and we're going to be more active in everything. We were on teleconference with EPA Washington last Friday, and one of the Washington regulators said, "We're so pleased to have Tulsa back in the game. We want to develop your brownfields program and really make it all it can be." If you compare us to some of the cities in the area, for example, Oklahoma City has a staff of 4 that work on brownfields all the time, and so we need to be in that game. There are dollars out there, and we have this historic sites dating back to our oil boom days that we can redevelop inside the city and make productive again. As far as North Tulsa, the second part of your question, Dwayne Majette, who also works for the mayor, and I are really focused right at the moment on the shops on North Peoria, which is the site immediately north of the Gateway Market that's just reopened. Just reopened. It celebrated a year's anniversary not too long ago. And the shops on Peoria, I think, will be a signature redevelopment. It's the former Banfield site, Tulsa Development Authority site. It's under contract to the Greenwood Community Development Corporation. TEDC is helping us with that site. And we really feel like that this construction season we'll be able to start turning dirt out there and make something happen with that site. So that's going on in North Tulsa, also on the brownfields and on the north side development side. We recently announced a up to $200,000 grant to clean up the old Morton site on East Pine. That site's a historic African American hospital site. Has a lot of endearment to the community. It's of a vintage where it has asbestos, and it also has some underground storage tanks. And so we got the grant in order to start to clean it up. But basically, as it sits today, because of the vintage of the building, it is not able to be redeveloped without some cleanup. And we didn't have the funds at the city to do that, so hats off to TIA, Clay Bird. They went out and made application and got the money, and we'll be active on that cleanup. So that's, as I recall, a 2.3 acre site right on Pine, right in the heart of near North Tulsa, that I think we can redevelop to something that all of Tulsa will be proud of. In terms of other north side redevelopment, there are areas in North Tulsa where inside the city limits we have the largest tracts of available land, and there are corners in North Tulsa where we are the last major arterial street corners where there's no development on any corner, and so those are definitely on our radar screen. But the Metro Chamber and I are actively looking for larger acreage sites. We have some projects right now where people are asking us for 100+ acres, and we really don't have those kind of sites except in North Tulsa and perhaps in West Tulsa if we're successful with some of the activity that we've got going on the Gilcrease. We really need the Gilcrease Expressway completion to open up that west side of Tulsa to some industrial area that we could have out there if we had decent access.
One of the great things about North Tulsa and West Tulsa, John, is that the land is relatively inexpensive compared to other areas in the Tulsa region. So that in itself is a great opportunity. What we've done as a city government as well is that we have either sold or have contracts or working on contracts for tracts of land that the city of Tulsa owns that we're trying to get rid of. To date, it's about 40 or 42, I think last we heard. 42 different tracts of land we're getting rid of. And they're going to the private sector to pay taxes and to be used for something, for a good purpose. The Gilcrease Expressway cannot be overemphasized. It will open up the last area of the city of Tulsa that has a significant amount of land available to it. It has the last amount of, as I stated earlier, relatively inexpensive land that would be available, but it also provides a point of ingress and egress for all aspects of economic development, whether it's industrial, commercial, residential, retail-oriented, whatever that might be, of an area west of Tulsa going to the airport and again and even further over to the Port of Catoosa and vice versa. So the ability to move all that type of people, infrastructure development is extremely necessary. So that's why that Gilcrease Expressway cannot be overemphasized. That once it is completed, it will open up an area of town that's going to do a tremendous amount of business for the benefit of the city of Tulsa.
Mayor, is that going to have to be a toll road to complete it?
Probably will. Part of it will be. It's very expensive. There's not enough money available at this point to complete it. The bridge alone would probably be $75 to $125 million because it has to go across the Arkansas River from north to south. It has taken us, that particular expressway has been on the major street and highway plan of the city of Tulsa since the mid-1950s. And it's about, what, 3/4 completed. So the rate we're going now, it would probably be the year 2025 or 2030 until it was completed. And I think that the citizens would prefer seeing it completed now. Turnpikes, although they might be somewhat controversial, they do allow for a lot of money to be suddenly made available to complete a project, which is what is the potential now for the Gilcrease Expressway. The entirety of the road might not be a toll road, but I would suggest that the bridge itself might be a toll bridge. But it would at least give the opportunity for it to be completed. And whatever else then might happen would be very beneficial to the city of Tulsa and certainly for the citizens that live in that community. Give them immediate access to and from there where they live, work, whatever that might be.
Mike Bunny, you want to chime
Just-
back in on
just
that?